Our relationships change the course of our lives, but can they change history? I'm the Affair Archivist, and in this video we'll be learning about how Yoko Ono handpicked May Pang to be John Lennon's mistress during his lost weekend, their 18-month separation, which took place between 1973 and 1975. In the fall of 1969, 19-year-old May Pang was hired to be an assistant in the New York City office of Apple Records, the Beatles record label. This was a dream job for her as a lifelong fan of rock and roll. After the Beatles split, Pang began working for John Lennon and Yoko Ono. She had done a series of odd tasks for the couple, which included collecting hundreds of flies for a short film Yoko and Lennon were working on. In 1973, Yoko gave her the strangest assignment of all, to become John's mistress. Yoko and John were separating, and Yoko felt May was a safe pick to keep him occupied while she lived independently from him for a while. Though initially resistant, May eventually fell in love with Lennon, yet their affair was tumultuous and marks a period in John's life now referred to as the Lost Weekend. She may have started as an office assistant at Apple. However, within a short period, May had the opportunity to assist John and Yoko in the production of their experimental films, and flew to London to work for the couple. Both John and Yoko took a liking to May. She observed in her memoir that John liked her so much he started dressing like her during the recording of Imagine. She was officially hired as their personal assistant in 1970. Throughout her time working with them, she had a front row seat to John and Yoko's intense and oftentimes bizarre dynamic. May reflected in her memoir, Loving John, that John and Yoko were not intimate in a normal couple way. She wrote, "They behaved more like children snuggling against each other to ward off any demons that might be loose in the night." According to May, Yoko was often the one who wore the pants, but on the rare occasions when John would assert his dominance, she would become upset and withdrawn. John and Yoko did not adhere to typical boss-employee boundaries. Yoko confided in May that John slept with another woman at a party and that she had heard them. She also mentioned their infamous stint in primal therapy and that she knew John's deepest fears and resentments. This barrage of TMI confessions would be a lot for anyone to take, especially for a girl in her early 20s. Yet May maintained her professionalism, even when Yoko made a very unorthodox request of her. Towards the end of 1973, May arrived to work at the Dakota, John and Yoko's apartment in New York City. Just as she was getting settled into her office for the workday, Yoko approached her with a strange and unethical proposition.
She sat me down in the office one day and she said, "We're having problems," which everybody in the house, who's working for them knew. And we were sitting there together, and she looked over at me. She goes, "Well, we're going to have, John's going to start seeing other people because we're not getting along." And I just stared at her and I said, "Yes." And I'm thinking, who am I going to be working for, him or her? And next thing you know, she said, "Well, I know that he likes you." And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "I know he likes you, and I know you're going to be good for him." I said, "But I don't want your husband." She said, "That's okay. I know you're not wanting it. You don't want him, but it's okay."
She was raised Catholic and balked at the idea of dating her married boss. "It'll be great," Yoko attempted to reassure her. May was resolute that there was no way this affair was going to happen, whether Yoko approved of it or not. However, no matter how resistant May was, she was no match for the persistence of Yoko. May hoped Yoko would drop the subject and she would be able to do her job as usual. However, during a recording session, May was instructed to go back to the Dakota to retrieve drums. When she returned, Yoko asked her if John was there and if he was in the nude. When May replied that he was there, but fully clothed, Yoko seemed disappointed. May was conflicted and considered resigning from her position. However, she was reticent to give up the amazing opportunity she had, and worried about being blacklisted if she quit. May was a lifelong lover of rock and roll and wanted to continue working in the music industry. Would Yoko and John make that difficult for her if she failed to adhere to their requests? Soon after Yoko suggested she become John's lover, May went to the studio with John, carrying his lyric sheets and money if he needed to get something during the session. While they were in the elevator leaving the apartment, John kissed May and said he had been waiting to do it all day. May pushed him away. John, unaccustomed to the word no, was shocked that she rejected him. During the session, John asked May what she thought of his vocals and songs. He was working on a song called Mind Games, which would become the title track of his next album. The cover art would also encapsulate this period for him. Yoko's face, appearing in the background in the image of a mountain, looks over John as he walks in the opposite direction. It was clear, after just 4 years of marriage, the two of them needed space. However, perhaps they were not quite ready to let go entirely, which could be why Yoko thought she was making a safe choice in selecting May as John's girlfriend. Since she was their employee, perhaps Yoko thought she could control May, and that the affair would begin and end at a time of her choosing.
She did not realize it was going to turn into such a big love affair. She thought it would be 2 weeks, gone, and goodbye. And it didn't turn out that way.
When they were done at the studio that night, John told May that he wanted to go home with her. May refused. "Don't let the little green men get you," he told her, for some reason. The following day, when she arrived at work, Yoko asked for a progress report. Did she get together with John? She was again disappointed with May's response. In retrospect, May wrote that she believes Yoko ordered John to kiss her in the elevator and was also interrogated on the results of his efforts by Yoko afterwards. The following day, May breathed a sigh of relief when John got through the day without attempting to kiss or sleep with her. Bear in mind, May was 22 years old, and John was a full 10 years older than her, although age was clearly not the only thing throwing off the power balance in this situation. As time went on, May admitted to herself that she was attracted to John. She appreciated his wit, and she liked his nose. However, she was still hesitant to become romantically involved with her boss. One night, after his work was done in the studio, John canceled the limo scheduled to take him back to the Dakota and insisted he and May take a cab back to her place instead. May made it clear that she did not want John to come home with her. They got in a cab together, but May defiantly told the cabbie to take them to the Dakota rather than her address. John blew up and cursed at her. The cabbie recognized John and smirked. According to May, he insisted that he needed to see her to her front door and entered her apartment. With her boss in her home, May began crying. She was distraught and afraid, feeling immense pressure to have an affair with John, though her professionalism and Catholic values left her deeply conflicted. John sat on the floor with her and reassured her that he liked her, and that though Yoko suggested they become an item, it was because she could tell he was interested in her. May reiterated her confusion, and he said he was confused too, and cradled her in his arms, kissing her. She changed her mind, and they were intimate. However, after the deed was done, May regretted her decision and told John to leave, which he did. The following evening, John went home with May and they made love, this time with no hesitation on May's part. She wrote, "We fit together like a glove. We're perfect together." After they made love for a second time, John told May he needed to shower. Yoko commented on the smell of her perfume on him the evening before. Though her feelings about John were changing, John told May that Yoko only wanted their relationship to be physical, that if feelings got involved, it would upset her. She agreed to this condition, but it was only inevitable that both of them, in the end, would end up catching feelings. After their affair was underway, Yoko went back to being strictly professional with May and made no reference to the fact that she was sleeping with her husband. The first time the three of them were in the room together since the lost weekend began, Yoko seemed unbothered by what was happening, and was relaxed and giggling despite the awkwardness of the situation. May once again had major doubts about her and John's relationship. She wanted to quit her job. John reassured her that Yoko was okay with what was happening, and May decided to stay. Though she continued working as John's assistant, Yoko stopped paying May her salary. Given their age difference, May was not as sexually experienced as John and considered him her teacher in the bedroom. She reflected, "We made love with our hearts and our souls as well as our bodies." Though they had a strong physical connection, they forged an emotional and intellectual bond as well. John took interest in May's Chinese heritage, often referring to her by her Chinese name, Feng Yi. They also bonded over their mutual love of music. It didn't take long for May to fall in love with her boss. Despite this, when Yoko left for Chicago to attend a conference on feminism, May was uncomfortable staying at the Dakota. Before leaving, Yoko once again reassured her that she was fine with their affair. However, May was uncomfortable with sleeping in John and Yoko's bed. So, John pulled his mattress into the living room so May did not have to sleep in their bedroom. May and John's complicated relationship was just getting started. If you would like to know the full story behind the lost weekend, please click the link to the video in the description box or on the end screen. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And join me next time as we explore another affair from history.